My journey through the NFL has been pretty interesting. I started out in Dallas, and from there, after 4 seasons, I moved on to Tampa, where I was an insurance policy for their kicker. They eventually re-signed, which meant that we asked to be released, and the next day I got signed by Green Bay. Went to Green Bay for the off-season, got cut after the first preseason game in training camp. So I think it's about eight different places I've played, 4 teams I've played for in the regular season. It's been a long road. My 2010 season was my best season that I've had to date. It was a lot of fun. I knew I could achieve a high level. I didn't think that my peers and the rest of the media and the NFL world would take notice of it so quick. The greatest achievement of 2010 was making the Pro Bowl. I know that it's the highest honor you can get as the highest individual honor you can get in the NFL. And for me to go from a guy who had to compete for my job to start the season to being voted by my peers as being the top kicker in the AFC was pretty nice. I initially got hooked up with Dr. Choka back in 2007. John Bonamengo was special teams coach for the New Orleans Saints, and I had my exit interview with him when the season was done. I was looking for some feedback from him, and I was thinking that he was going to give me, maybe I should work on technique stuff, maybe I need to get stronger. I didn't know quite what to think of what his response was going to be. And he had thought that maybe my issues, or I wouldn't really say issues, maybe the areas I could improve upon were going to be maybe the mental side of the game. And he had had a relationship with Dr. Choka dating back to his time when he was coaching at West Point. So he had said, look, I know of a sports psychologist that's now doing private practice. He had started the sports psychology department, the Center for Enhanced Performance at West Point. You know, he did a lot of great things with our football team. Maybe he'd be able to help you out. So I went ahead and I got a hold of him, and then we started working together once I was with the Atlanta Falcons, and we've been working together ever since. There's a few areas that have made a big difference especially in my kicking. First and foremost would probably have to be the goal setting. Like, I'm a very goal-driven athlete, and for me to set goals, and then not only to set goals, but to have it be part of what I listen to on a daily basis, I think, and then creating the sort of affirmation CD that I use to essentially train my mind to think the way that I want to think. Instead of thinking myself in a much greater capacity, I started to bring my thought patterns bring me down. So I had to find a way to strike this balance. I started to try to create an environment where I was confident, but not arrogant. And I think that Dr. Choka really helped me kind of straddle that line. The other things, the stress management that we use, the techniques that he's taught me, that when I actually can get legitimate feedback from. A lot of other sports psychologists will tell you to breathe, and you're like, that's great. Now, what are you talking about? Like, teach me what you're talking about. Well, through some of the tools that he's used with me, I'm able to get instant feedback, so it's actually a skill that you can acquire. My success last year in touchbacks definitely had a big factor in that was my mental preparation. A lot of it having to do with just staying relaxed. As I went through the season, I started to kick off pretty well. And then what I started, instead of doing what most athletes do when you do something well, you start realizing, well, I can't believe I'm doing this as well as I'm doing it, and you start to overthink. So what I used is a lot of the stress management techniques to when I got into a game, I would just said, okay, now it's time to, let's just go kill it. The mental training techniques helped me to stay out of my own way. And I think that as I went through the process, I started to also realize that I was capable of much more. The other thing that I've learned is it doesn't really matter what other people think. But the big thing is matters what I think, and what I know I'm capable of doing, and going out and doing it and preparing for it. Because if I don't prepare, then nothing's going to happen on the field. Using imagery has been really big for me. I've made it part of what I do with my pre-shot routine, like for kicking, or pre-kick routine, however you want to look at it. Also, I would say that I use it on the sideline, before, days before a game, nights before games. I'm just going over situations in my head of what I might face in the field, to the point that I've actually had in a game, I've thought to myself, wow, this is the exact kick I went over in my head last night. Like, everything's exactly the same, the wind, everything that I expected. So I went out there and just essentially replayed the kick, and it was probably one of the most effortless kicks I've had in my career. I think there's a connotation that a sports psychologist is a shrink. And for me, my approach has been is that I don't want him to be a crutch. I want him to be part of the team that I build, just like we've got the guys that I work out with, strength coach, you've got massage therapists, you've got everybody. Make them part of your team and make all the work happen in the off season. So when you get into the season, it's all ingrained. This is trying to take your performance and take it to a new level. And if you have with the proper attitude and actually carrying through on all this stuff, there's no reason why you can't make a really big difference.